All right, let's bring in our legal guys now. Avery Friedman, a civil rights attorney and law professor, and Richard Herman, a criminal defense attorney and law professor. All right, good to see you both. Okay, so we've got the appellate court who now says this has got to be sent back, before a judge, this time in an adult court. So, Avery, is there already a message now being sent? I mean, will this be tantamount to or lead to a fair trial?
Oh, I think there's no question but that the reversal of Judge Troiano tees it up for a fair trial. The decision that was written by this particular judge was just reprehensible. The idea that because someone comes from a good family somehow excuses the horrific violence of this young woman is just inexcusable, and good for the Court of Appeals. Though the judges there made it very clear this is wrong. It doesn't matter if you're rich, you're poor, you're a good student, you're a bad student. In fact, if anything, a good family would have taught this young man that what he did is unacceptable in any respect. So look forward to this case going to a grand jury, look for the indictment, and look for the trial going forward in adult court.
So, Richard, do you see that this reversal would impact this new criminal trial?
Well, it definitely put the case in the headlines, Fred. People who haven't heard about this now know about it in Monmouth County, New Jersey. The problem is that this judge has completely lost his mind, and I know he's retired right now, Judge Troiano, get that name, Troiano, but he still sits on the bench and hears cases, which is beyond me. Man should be investigated criminally to see if he took a bribe here. He should be investigated by the Judicial Grievance Committee and the Attorney Grievance Committee, because his rationale, Fred, was so off the wall in this case that he definitely was not in law school the day they taught law. He went out of his way to protect this young man. He claims it wasn't cruel, it wasn't predatory. This young girl was locked in a basement with a table blocking the door, with her head banging into the wall as this guy's videoing, saying, hey, the first time having sex should be rape. This is what he did. These are the facts of the case. And the appellate division reversed and rebuked, because being an Eagle Scout or coming from a good family or getting good test scores doesn't give you a pass on rape or sexual violence.
That's exactly right.
But the prosecution hasn't brought charges, Fred. They're sitting back. They haven't done anything yet.
They're going to move forward. Frederica, what's really
and if
what's
they
really
do, I mean, damning evidence will be perhaps that video that was circulated.
Oh, absolutely part of the evidence. The thing that's so troubling here is that you can't really figure out what Judge Troiano had in mind. The idea of concentrating on good grades or a good family and knowing the video was there with this child being injured and literally, Richard's right, her head being banged against the wall is just so outrageous. It should have gone to the adult court. It will go to the adult court. And frankly, that judge is appointed by a judicial council. It's time to remove him. It's time to get somebody else. He's a retired judge. Whatever he's done in the past, it's over. Time for him to leave the bench.
And this might be very challenging for other circumstances, too. I mean, a change of venue, perhaps, that, audiences have been swayed by what they're learning from this appellate process, Richard. So, I mean, there are going to be a lot of challenges here.
Yeah.
There may be, Fred. I don't think they're going to change venue on this case. I think it's properly situated in Monmouth County. A lot of cases get reversed. It's just this judge was off the wall, and the appellate division not only reversed him, they rebuked him, Fred. There was another similar case like this. He also got reversed and rebuked on. And they told him, you cannot substitute your own interpretation of the facts and your own fantasy of what the law is versus what the prosecution does based on legal factors.
That's exactly right.
And that's what they said. It's a horrific rebuke on this guy. And it's so outrageous, Fred. He should be investigated because it's so outrageous. Something we're missing a piece of the puzzle here, Fred.
We understand it's outrageous, but it really reminds you of the Brock Turner case in California. Remember that was the Stanford swimmer. The judge gave him 6 months, and ultimately that resulted in a recall That won't happen here because he's appointed. I think you're not going to see any further service on the bench by this judge.
So if he doesn't come from a good family, doesn't have good grades, he can get prosecuted for rape. But if he comes from a good family and he has good grades, he doesn't. It's ridiculous, Fred. It's insane.
And then, Richard, before we let you go, you are there in Las Vegas. You felt the tremor from that earthquake, 7.1 in California last night.
Yeah, I got back last night, and I'm writing up CNN for you today, Fred. And the house, it swayed like 8 times, like my head does when Avery speaks. Going like this.
Well, and that's right. And you know what? I think the earthquake
right.
might have also been existing before it actually happened with Richard. So you never know.
All right, Avery, Richard, thank you so much. Always appreciate you.
Thank you.